I will set the zeitgeist straight.
The movie has too much of the cast in it.
Man, I'm saddled with Jeff Goldblum, the world's most uncharismatic actor.
But it has no poetry.
That's not what this is about.
The problem was when the hero started facing adversity.
Get off your soapbox, Laura Dern.
I want to square off on this guy at a dinner party.
The music was thick.
So far, you have not dazzled me. I'm just letting you know. Hey everybody, welcome to Off the Mark, good chat on bad takes of great movies. I'm Dave Columbo.
I'm king of the world. I'm Mick Andrews.
We'll fix the levels later. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And our wonderful special guest this week for Off the Mark, content creator and author and all around, just powerhouse of the internet, Nick Powers, everybody.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. In this fabulous podcast, we like to wince through the worst reviews of the best movies ever made. We've had a lot of fun so far. It's become a very psychological podcast, hasn't it, Mick? Where we're
It's a test in patience more than anything.
Yeah, we were at first we were just like, we get to talk about Jurassic Park for an hour, but now it's become like, how could you? What kind of person has these opinions about these movies? And it's become a real cerebral thing because, Nick, what we've noticed is that, say what you want about the YouTube age of hi, I'm 19 and I'm gonna do a 2-hour breakdown on why Star Wars Ahsoka is a piece of shit. Say what you want about the validity of stuff like that, but at least it's showing an effort and an attention to detail that old-timey movie reviewers and critics just didn't have.
And it's kind of mind-boggling that people can leave such low-effort reviews and think that, they're think that opinion is going to influence somebody when they don't actually say anything at all. I just listened to your last episode about Back to the Future, and those were mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So I can't. Yeah.
Well, what we're about to realize with today's movie, Titanic. I don't know if you've heard. I think it's a small little independent movie. I believe it's pronounced. I think it's French to Titanic or something. I can't even remember. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're watching the biggest, most lavish, most money powerhouse movie ever made, and the reviewers are like, eh. I mean, we're going to get into it in a second, but every single frame of that movie is jam-packed. It's perfectly shot, perfectly executed. Every single moment is James Cameron at his James Cameronist. And the way that people are just kind of going well, yeah, if that's what you like. It's just how one thing is greater than the other.
There's also, it seems so clear, even just not having been a reviewer or I was a child when the movie came out, but the first time I saw it, the one thing that always struck me was whoever made this knew exactly what the ship looked like, knew exactly what happened to the ship. It just is so specifically designed, and the way that as you move through the ship at the end of the movie, you understand exactly where they are relative to kind of other stuff. It's right.
The love and the care. This was not somebody who was yeah, I'll do a movie about Titanic. This was somebody who's just stop. Yeah, I finally get to do my passion project, and I've been making the biggest movies ever for 20 years at that point.
And there was so much research that he put into it, even apparently on the budget of the film. I love that he actually went down to in a submarine to see the Titanic, him as a director, just so he could learn more about it. Because Titanic is honestly, Titanic was one of the things that he was the most interested in. He's an enthusiast.
Yeah, I love that. Talk about mixing business with pleasure. That guy would go down there for he would have paid himself to get down there, and he's just oh yeah, no, it's for the movie. It's,
it's making a Titanic movie.
I've got to get down there.
Can we just for a second gush on James Cameron? Here's my opinion of James Cameron. Here's my hot take. James Cameron is a fantastic director, but the thing that I think that people really kind of don't notice about him is he's 10 years ahead of everybody else.
Yes.
Look at how good Terminator is. Nobody
Right.
else got that close until 10 years later. Then he made Terminator 2. Nobody else like could make an action like that's an action movie that's 2005 slick in 1991. Right. And then Titanic is like when you're watching Titanic, the way the camera moves, the attention to practical CG, practical effects plus CG, all of this combination. It's like, yeah, other directors will get there eventually. He's just making whatever movie he's making is 10 years ahead of everybody else, even coming close to what he's doing.
It can go even further. Avatar. People spent the next 10 years trying to like catch up to that level of like CGI integration in a way where, I mean, when I first saw that, it blew me away.
Yeah.
And now Marvel movies are kind of roughly, I feel like, doing that level of like 90% of it is done through computer generation, but it looks seamless. And then he comes out with Way of Water, and I don't know if you guys have seen that, but the CG water in that is absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
It's just, he topped himself with it. So yeah, I totally see him as like, you know, that's what a pioneer is that, you know, you come out with something and people spend the next X amount of years, you know, going to school on your work.
One thing that we deal with this podcast is a lot of the reviewers are talking about the movie within context of other things that are happening around the same time. Everybody wants to talk about the whirlwind blockbuster or the summer da-da-da, or when we were talking about Carpenter's The Thing, there were a lot of reviewers that were like, why isn't it E.T.? And it's like, because it's a different movie, asshole.
Right.
And it's like, but as we get into the streaming age where you can watch any movie you want at any time, you know, for really any reason, I worry that James Cameron is going to get slept on, because if you miss the date next to all of his movies, I mean, they're still very well made, but you're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, wait, that was 1997?
Right.
Like you got to remind people that like, no, he was doing it before everybody else. That's what I want to like.
Yeah, I think of that whenever I see like a Marx Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Like those jokes by today's standards are, you know, they're punchy and they're fine, but they're a little stale.
Watch
and
it.
Then you have to remember, like, they invented that. Like, they were doing that for, like, they were pioneers in that sense. Like,
Mick, I've never been more excited to cut anything from the podcast than you saying that the Marx Brothers jokes are stale.
I'm holy shit. Okay, you know I'm a huge Marx Brothers fan. I'm not saying I'm saying they're stale. I'm saying you could watch them today and go, all right, it's a little shticky for me. I would say you're wrong.
Yeah, but an argument could be made by some Philistines.
But you got to remember that those are the first times those jokes are written.
Yeah.
And then everyone for the next 100 years is doing a variation on their original joke.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And not only that, but he takes tremendous risk with the budget that he asks for too. And now it doesn't seem like a risk in retrospect after every movie, but his movies are expensive. Mm-hmm. Like when he made Titanic, there was virtually, you'd think if you saw that budget that there's virtually no way that they're going to profit that much from that movie because of how much it costs. It was one of the most expensive movies, I think the most expensive movie at the time ever made.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when he makes a movie, it's tremendous risk, but also it's James Cameron. That risk is going to pay off.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's chat a little bit about the movie, Titanic. I'll tell you. I don't want to age everybody, but I was there. I went and saw it about 6 or 7 times in the theater.
Right.
There was nothing like it. Again, I hate to repeat myself here, but like it's 1997. What a romantic move, what a melodrama was at that time, or what an action movie was at that time, was not on this level in terms of a movie that hit all of these boxes and did them all so well. It was an absolute masterclass, and it was a phenomenon. I remember I went to see it probably about 5 or 6 times in the theater just because I wanted to see every moment of it again because there's so much happening. People just think about the love story. There's so much action in this movie, and there's so much happening, and there's so much drama that
And the background characters
are all
like
completely fleshed out.
right, exactly.
There's a part where the iceberg has hit, and they're trying to the iceberg is straight ahead, and they're trying to turn, and there's like a quarter of a second scene of like the boiler room, and there's like 10 like you gotta do and they're all like phenomenal for just that 1/4 second, and I'm like, that must have taken an entire day to set up.
And what blew me away is all of those background characters, like the characters you see in the boiler room, they all come back again. Like when the ship starts stinking, you see them diving through those closing doors.
Yeah.
You know? Like you recognize all of these faces, even if they didn't have very many, if any, speaking lines. You see them you see them multiple times throughout the movie. You can follow them if you're looking for them. It's incredible.
Well,
That he
Nick,
had so much attention to detail.
Nick, talk to me. Why is this on your list?
Well, one, I'm a nerd. I love ships. I love boats.
Nice.
And so, and I love that time period, like the Industrial Revolution area, like the 19 teens. And so this obviously hit the mark for me there. I was learning about the Lusitania before the movie Titanic even came out to make that kind of interest a thing that was popular. And so, of course, when Titanic came out, I was all over it. But also, when I got there, I was surprised when I watched the trailers because it looked like maybe a romantic comedy disaster film, but it was in the 90s, so like we didn't really have a whole lot of that yet. And so I was just kind of wondering what the movie was supposed to be from the trailers.
That's a great point. It was of a scale and an epicness where like, because up till that point, by the 90s, like even by the 90s, like a trailer would be like, we are going to tell you exactly what this is. Watch Harrison Ford punch a guy. Like, and this was just kind of like, no. Here's like love story and huge epic, and there's gunshots for some reason, and it's like you're kind of like, whoa, yeah.
And it looked so over the top that I was like, there's no way that this is going to be realistic. At all. And then I went and then I watched it, and I was like, wow, they got everything right. Everything. And it was incredible. And they even threw some like weird, like not weird, but they even threw some like niche like Titanic rumors in, like with like random bits of dialogue and actual plot events, like with the way that the ship sank in the 90s. Like, we didn't really know how the ship sank. Like we didn't really know what the ship did, like bringing it over almost vertically and then the ship cracking like on the surface. That was not really a thing that we knew happened. So the fact that they went into that amount of detail and they went into the screen time showing every little bit the way that they thought at the time that it possibly could be, even if it seemed bizarre and unbelievable, was insane to me. Like I didn't think that movie would be brave enough to do that. It blew me away as a nerd, being able to follow all that stuff.
That's a great point that I didn't really think about, was that like, because now we know, we in our heads know that the movie was like a great bombastic blockbuster, but also technically accurate and technically detail oriented. But at the time, you didn't know yet, and based on other movies up to that time, it's like, there's no way. But it's like, no. He rebuilt the Titanic. Like he did. Like that's the deck, Yeah.
Those weren't visual effects. It didn't just look fancy. It was that they were on a ship.
Mick, what about you? What are your thoughts on the movie?
I was a kid and I had heard that there was a naked woman in this movie, and So it became very important that I went to go see this movie.
And it's one of those where it's like it's tastefully done, so maybe your mom will take you.
It managed to snag. Isn't it PG-13? Isn't it?
think
It
so.
was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
PG-13.
It was PG-13.
Yeah, and that's what got me through the door, because it was obviously, as everybody knows, it was like a global phenomenon. And I have sisters who were obsessed with seeing Leo DiCaprio and seeing the whole romantic element of it. And I was like, well, they get to go, but I don't. And my mom was like, all right, I don't really have an argument for that. And I went, and the movie was phenomenal. The movie's fantastic. I loved it. We bought the VHS box set, which came with 3 tapes. It was the biggest movie we owned on VHS.
You could always see it in the on the shelf.
It really was a presence in your collection.
Yeah, you could always see when somebody had it on their shelf. It was just kind of like, oh, you got Titanic. Look at that. See that first. Yeah,
it was right next to Gone with the Wind, which is the only other one that had 2 tapes for me. But yeah, I loved the movie. I thought it was phenomenal. Was not interested in kind of like naval history or like, ships and that kind of stuff until I saw this movie. Started kind of my interest in it. Ultimately, like, I'm not as much interested in the Industrial Revolution as I am in more Napoleonic naval history. I find that stuff fascinating.
Mick, I thought you were going to say I wasn't so much into the Industrial Revolution as I was the folly of man. Men's hubris against the gods. There's 2...
Yeah, I just really wanted to see the ship designer get his comeuppance. That's what. How dare he call his ship unsinkable?
There's 2 things that I'd love to talk about real briefly before we jump in here. The first thing, Kate Winslet is crushing this role. She is so insanely good. Went back and watched it again. I mean, she's note perfect, and she's very, very young. She is making "I'm flying, Jack, I'm flying" work like nobody's business.
And when it really shouldn't.
None of that scene makes a whole lot of sense. And honestly, as a nerd, when watching it, they weren't actually allowed in that area, neither of them. But even as a nerd, the reason why I watched that movie 100 times, I still don't care anytime I watch that movie. I'm just like, no, this makes sense. I'm down.
I'm there.
Everything
artistic
about this.
license, I'll take it. The other thing,
that's the great. I mean, that's the mark of a great movie, is that everything that matters is immensely accurate, and the stuff that doesn't, you immediately go like, I don't need that to be accurate.
Well,
like,
that's something
I don't need to watch them try and have that scene and get turned away by an ensign.
We've talked about
and
this.
Be like, I'm sorry, you're not allowed through here, and you're like, that's accurate. Like, that part of it, I don't need.
We've talked about this.
Forfeit for the sake of the movie.
I'm always like blown away. Like when I critique something or say that something is bad or weak, people are like, everything has plot holes. And it's like, yes, but certain movies and certain TV and certain things in pop culture are able to juggle with either good performances, stellar design, good direction, good effects, enough that like there's a reason why nobody goes, wait, Luke Skywalker is in hiding using his own name on his father's home planet. Like, there's a reason why nobody says that. And it's because the movie's going like, hey, look how awesome I am. Look how good I am. Every movie does take artistic license. So when people like critique like a plot hole, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's because not enough else was happening that made you not think of that plot hole. Or like,
you don't worry about it.
Like that little technical aspect there. Like, nobody's thinking about that.
I don't know if I've ever thought about Obi-Wan Kenobi is hiding as Obi-Ben Kenobi. He really didn't even try with that one.
No one will know. The other thing that I wanted to bring up here was the pushback of the movie. It's melodrama, it's schmaltzy, you're supposed to hate it, it's supposed to be a roll your eyes movie, that kind of came, and I will admit, took me over for a really long time. I saw the movie about 5-6 times in the theater. and then got hit by the pushback where it was like, this is not a movie that you're supposed to like. This is a movie you're supposed to like ironically. Oh yeah, why don't you go watch Titanic? And it washed over me. And then I'd say maybe about 10 years later, it was on TV, and I kind of went like, oh, yeah, Titanic, and then was like, oh shit, hold on.
Wait, I was right the first time. It's
and
actually fucking good.
I'm tensing up, and I'm watching it with like the intensity of like one of my favorite movies, and I'm looking at my fists, going like, oh, I forgot. I'm supposed to. Wait a minute. No, this movie is amazing. Do you guys have any thoughts or feelings about that? About the pushback of like, ew, that's one of your favorite movies? Ew, you know?
See, I was one of the people that like vehemently defended that movie my entire life.
Nice.
And so like I don't know. I was the person that even in my group of friends, they were like, oh, but you like Titanic. And I'm like, no, fuck you. It's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
We should sit down and watch it. And they were like, no, we're not going to watch Titanic. So like, I don't like, and that's always, that movie is one of the few that has been like, I don't want to say a thorn in my side, because it's, you know, I would choose, like, I chose to be this way. I love this movie and I will defend it. But it was one of those movies where for a while I had to sit and just, you know, take the fact that when I say that I like it, honestly, nobody's going to trust my opinion in movies because I love this movie.
That's a great point. That's where it's like, it's not just that you're wrong about this movie. This means that, oh, this person doesn't like good film. It shouldn't be. It was the biggest movie. How is the biggest movie in the world a guilty pleasure movie? Like, how did that happen? Like,
yeah, I
people
think
went and
things
saw
get
it.
so big that they fold in on themselves. I remember feeling the same, like, kind of embarrassment to say I enjoyed Avatar. Like, Avatar had a kind of like, oh God, we're gonna spend the next 10 years getting, 8 more Avatar movies. It's like, that sounds great to me. Those movies are enjoyable to watch. They're a feast for the eyes. I have a blast every time. That's one of the few things I would like go to the theater to see.
But also looking at the numbers, should be a lot of people rushing to your defense. Because the box office says that everybody and their mother has seen the movie. So why is everybody going, ugh?
Now, I do get embarrassed to say I like Titanic, not because I like Titanic. What is embarrassing is the Titanic spin-off movies that started showing up, the things that rip Titanic off. Like, there's a natural thing for people to be like, oh, like, if you like Titanic, you're going to love Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
All right, we get it. Like, yeah, all right. People did what he did poorly. Like, that doesn't mean this movie's not good.
I love the, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can, what other tragedies? Let's say Hindenburg, the motion picture. Like, how are you guys? No, like, no.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
honestly, I would
September
totally watch
2024.
Titanic. Let's talk about it. 1997, on a budget of $200 million, biggest budget for a movie at the time. In its initial run, this is going to be fun. You want to see some numbers. In its initial run, $600 million domestic, $1.2 billion international, for a worldwide gross of $1.843 billion.
Okay, so I'm just looking up in 1997 what that would be worth today.
Yeah. 67.4% of the movie's gross was international.
Wow.
This really appealed to a lot of people.
Okay.
Which makes sense because it's not, it's not inherently an American film.
No, but it's I love things because we did Carpenter's The Thing, and it literally made like $15 million and internationally $4,000. It was like international audiences were not interested. Like, it's so cool.
$100 million in 1997 is worth about $187 million in 2023.
Wow.
Just shy of double.
Yeah.
So if you had a movie that made 1.843 you're in the ballpark of like $4 billion.
Where does it place now as far as the top grossing movies?
Oh, I think it's
Number
like
four.
4. Oh,
Number
yeah,
4.
yeah.
Okay.
And fun fact, of the top 5 movies grossing of all time, James Cameron directed 3 of them.
That's why
Yeah,
he can go like, here's the budget. Like, that's why he can do that.
Talk about that's about as close to a guaranteed return on investment as you're going to get.
Let me guess, one of those
Avatar, The
Piranha
Way of
3,
Water,
right?
and Titanic are 1, 3, and 4 respectively.
That's incredible.
Wow.
So
I'm guessing most of the other ones are Marvel
yeah.
and maybe Star Wars.
Yeah, 1 Marvel movie and Star Wars Force Awakens is number 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Endgame
that
is
makes
number
sense.
2.
All right, here's my favorite part of the entire show. What else was in the theater at the time? What
yeah.
what
yes.
what was it like to be, Titanic came out immediately, was number 1. Also coming out that day was Mouse Hunt.
Actually, a pretty fantastic Nathan Lane
Great movie. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that blows my mind.
Imagine releasing the same day as
Yeah.
Titanic
And
and
being
think
like,
you've got something.
Well, honey, should we go see Titanic or Nathan Lane being amazing? Here's the thing though. In their first day, because this is their first day box office, Titanic made $8 million. Mouse Hunt made 1.4. So it was a race.
So people chose Mouse Hunt.
It was
Wow. Yeah, people did. People chose Mouse
It
Hunt.
wasn't a runaway victory. That was like a 1/8 of the people were like, I think I'd rather see Mouse
Because
Hunt.
I'll tell you what, I
Yeah.
do know for a fact, I saw both of those movies in theaters. I was 8 years old. I saw both of those movies in theaters.
Yep.
I was the weirdest Venn diagram of demographics for those 2 movies.
You were the one sneaking from, like, nobody thought that anyone would sneak from the Mouse Hunt theater into the Titanic theater. And you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, and then I might hop into Amistad and the Devil's Advocate right after that, because that was also out at the time. Oh, my God. That's so funny. I'm going to begin reading some reviews for Titanic.
Oh, boy, here we go.
We
my
don't
goodness.
name names here, and I cut out some of the little fluff, so we're not just repeating the plot every now and then. But please jump in when anything strikes your fancy. Slate, December 1997. Nearly 2 hours into James Cameron's Titanic, 2 lovers embrace passionately on the deck under the stars, while high above, 2 of the ship's lookouts regard them with amusement and envy. Young, beautiful, smitten, their whole lives ahead of them. You can practically hear the boatsman sigh, ah, well, that's their lot in life. Ours is to stand here and shiver and scan the North Atlantic for iceberg. Ah, iceberg, dead ahead, reverse engines.
Sorry, that's not a hypothetical. Like that, they're not just imagining. That literally happened in the movie.
That's literally what...
Oh, hold on. Now it can be told the Titanic went down because of 2 distracting smoochers on the poop deck.
Oh, I was just going to ask, this guy's going to imply
Yeah.
that was the... Okay.
What? Wait, really?
That's a criticism, is that's what James Cameron is saying, is that they're the reason the Titanic sank.
Wow.
The
my
movie's
God.
The movie's posters, which feature Winslet and DiCaprio superimposed over a relatively diminutive ocean liner, have the proportions about right. This $200 million plus epic, quote unquote, the product of 2 major studios, is nothing so much as an Edwardian soap opera to which one of the world's most glamorous catastrophes has been appended, mostly, it seems, to demonstrate the force of the beleaguered couple's ardor. Disaster flicks are forever being pilloried for their profusion of stereotypical supporting players and lack of dramatic center. There will be no such attacks on Titanic. You can count on your fingers the characters with more than 5 lines. The familiar portents of the 1912 ship's doom, the failure to provide enough lifeboats, the reckless decision to go full speed ahead to get to New York early, the captain's blasé disregard of iceberg warnings, the lack of even 1 pair of binoculars to scan the horizon, are dramatized perfunctorily.
I don't...
What? They don't have a problem with the movie. They have a problem with history, I guess. Yes. That means the movie's accurate.
That's what that means. He finishes that by saying, are dramatized perfunctorily. It's as if Cameron, who also wrote the script, assumed we all knew the legend already. Or if you know the legend, it's a fun little Easter egg, and if you don't, you're watching a dramatic scene play out. Like if you did do the reading and you know all of these tales, apocryphal or not, yeah, they're like little, like, hey, it's like a comic book movie. It's like, hey, thanks for reading.
Right.
Here's a little nod to you. And if you didn't, you're just watching the scene play out.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the beauty of it being accurate, is that largely what, like, he took such great pains to have these little kind of things dashed in throughout a romantic story that takes place on the ship, that these little like historical accuracies are in there, such that me, having done no reading whatsoever, has a fairly accurate understanding of what happened on that ship, compared to, like, I don't know, I don't want to compare it to another kind of disaster movie, but like, or like historical disaster movie, but you know, something like, you know, that dramatizes those scenes. If you hadn't taken these pains to like hide these little facts, and it's not perfunctorily, it's integrity, it's directorial integrity. It's like an honor to what actually happened there.
But I'm curious, like if you don't know those things, are you not following the script? Like, why are there not enough lifeboats? I can't even enjoy this movie. Like, you're watching drama play out either way. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and they do a tremendous job of like setting that up to pay off later. A lot of the conversations of the upper crust people is like, what happens if this ship sinks? How nuts would that be? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Laugh richly to themselves. Like, that's they do it a lot. The ship's designer is on the ship, like, his role within the like drama of the movie is almost exclusively to explain all the problems that would happen if anything bad were to occur.
Right.
Like,
And not only that, but the movie painstakingly goes into explaining why they made those decisions for people who aren't in the know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the people who are thinking, oh, that's dumb that they don't have enough lifeboats. Well, they explained the business decision as to why, what their thought process was when they were designing the ship. Like, all of these things made sense, and the movie went out of their way to walk you through, like, to hold your hand about, if you don't know why this is, here you go.
it's also like an interesting balance, like dramatically, like it both lays out the business decision facts of it, but also like does a really good job of balancing that like factual analysis, or that historical kind of just objective statement, and still uses it as like a narrative device to show the hubris of the people. Like, it works on both levels, like way better than it should.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and every line is meant to do kind of both.
Yeah.
Like, they don't waste any time with either one. It's perfect.
Nope. Unfortunately, you're both wrong. It was dramatized perfunctorily. The plot is turn-of-the-century melodrama. As someone fiercely cynical about commercial American cinema, I'm less bothered than most by the exploitation of real-life disasters for an audience's delectation. But at times, the slickness of Titanic turned my stomach. It's one thing for Cameron to have Rose stand at the ship's prow and threaten to throw herself into the water so that Jack can haul her back. That's ludicrous but benign. It's another for him to have the pair at the climax cling to the same railing, now the highest point on the ship, and while the scores of people plummet to their deaths, have Rose point out, Jack, this is where we first met. I expected her, amid the shrieks, to add, and they're playing our song.
Okay.
I mean,
I will give the person this. It was a little heavy-handed for her to turn and say, this is where we first met. I think James Cameron could have trusted the audience enough to be like, oh, I see how that came full circle.
yes, but again, Kate Winslet knocking out of the park that line of dialogue in lesser, less capable hands. Yeah, hammy and like, we didn't need to. She crushes it.
Setting aside the line itself, it seems like the writer had a problem with that choice of making them go there, and I think it's one of the best, like,
Yeah.
kind of dramatic full circle things you could have done, is to have them, their entire time together on the ship begins and ends at the same spot. Like, I think that's really
Right.
cool.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
You get your $8.50 worth in the last hour. Inflation. To go back.
I mean, listen, man. Think about that. $8.50 per ticket, and it made $1.8 billion.
To be able to drop a
That's
tenner,
a lot of tickets.
just to drop a $10 bill and being like, one for Titanic, please. Why am I in the 20s? You get your $8.50 worth in the last hour with hundreds of extras slip sliding into the sea. It's Titanic, guys. Where other filmmakers have averted their eyes from the 1,500 lifeboatless souls who perished in the icy North Atlantic, Cameron stays to gawk. Do you want to see people slowly freeze to death and then bob up and down in their life preservers like ashen buoys? Climb aboard.
Wasn't it the entire point of the movie that was bad?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the entire thing about the Titanic disaster and why we make movies and stories about it, is that event was largely bad and could have been prevented.
I think
that was the point.
This was
of the whole movie.
I think this was around the time of like Braveheart, where like I don't think some people were ready for something to be melodramatic and also like, no, we're going to show the results of, we're going to go all the way with the lowest point for these characters and show. Yeah, I mean, it's what happens in the movie. It's what happened in real life. It's all,
and you're supposed to feel anger about it.
Yeah,
that's the point. That's what the movie wants.
It's supposed to humanize these people. I think it did a tremendous job of, like, a lot of disaster movies. You watch a building collapse or something like that, and you don't feel the gravitas of it because other things are happening around. Other stuff is exploding and all this nonsense. Like, it goes out of its way to show people lying in their beds as the water's flooding in. It goes out of its way to show the people freezing in the water because it wants you to feel for these people. And I think it does that in a very, very powerful way. I find it pretty gross that this writer said you get your money's worth when you see those people popping off the back of the ship. And it's also confusing to me for them to both say I can't tell if that's sarcastic or not, but I have to treat it as literal. The guy says, or woman says, you're getting your money's worth when you finally see the death and destruction of these people, while also saying that James Cameron is gawking at them. Like, you can't have
it both ways.
They can't both be true. He's either poignantly showing you what's going on, or he's gawking at them. And either way, I don't think any of it is simply for the, like, popcorn entertainment value. I think that's very dehumanizing to the people who actually pass on that ship.
And for me, which one would you prefer? Would you rather just ignore the fact that like, when you watch like a Marvel movie, for instance, and you see Hulk, tearing through cars in traffic and throwing things everywhere, he's clearly killing so many people.
Yeah.
And the movie just ignores it. Just, we're not talking about that. Nobody died. Everything's fine. But, like, would you rather have that for a disaster movie, them just ignoring the fact that everybody's dead? Or would you rather pay tribute to all the people by showing the tremendous disaster that they went through during the actual events? Like,
and yeah, this writer, it's very unclear what this writer wants. Like, they want it neither way and also both at the same time. But also, like, with James Cameron and his eye for detail throughout the movie, I don't know if it's true or not, but, like, I would have no problem believing that the characters that he focuses on throughout those things are, like, true stories, like real people that, like, they were able to document their journey on the Titanic.
I think that I think that the vibe here is like, don't worry, if what you want is blood and guts, you'll get it at the end. Is that what you want? Then this movie's going to be for you. It's like, okay, you think it's a lot? what if you were on the Titanic? It was a lot for them too.
It just was a lot.
It was a lot. I'm so sorry. So this next review is interesting because it's more psychological about the phenomenon. The World Socialist website, February 25th, 1998. The response to Titanic is so great and so out of proportion to the quality of the film itself that one is forced to view its success as a social phenomenon worthy of analysis. This is not simply a film, it's virtually a cause. Its admirers defend it with fervor and admit no challenges and no criticisms. It's not simply a good film or a wonderful film. It must be acknowledged as the greatest film of all time.
I love the pretense in this. Like, he's trying to like this person is trying to act like they're doing it like academically. Like, let me leave my unbiased analysis about how shitty this film is.
Yeah.
You want to see?
That's not how research is done, my friend.
That's not. Yeah.
This next sentence is so that check how academic this is. If the film were truly great, as its admirers claim, it would be impossible for anyone of any age to see it 5, 10, or even more times. A great film, by definition, is a demanding film. One cannot rush back to see such a work. One needs to recover from the experience and assimilate its contents.
Oh, a great film is a film you can't watch again.
A great film.
I love the multiple different ways that you can take this too, because like on one side we can concentrate on the like, oh, you're saying that you can only watch a good film once, okay, but you also have like I'm choosing to take this as they watched the movie and watched all of these people dying horrific deaths, and they're just like okay with it. They're just chill. Like, oh, yeah, clearly people can come back to watch that again.
You watch that
like,
over and over.
Did we watch the same movie? Like, yeah, everybody who came back to the theater had to recover.
Yeah. It's rare when a reviewer will straight up, like, make a subjective claim. If here's what a great film is by definition.
To start a sentence with by definition.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
When I think of the movie Citizen Kane, what I think of is that it's harrowing.
Yeah.
That when I walk out of that movie, I go, I don't know if I can mentally watch that again.
I mean, I've seen. I guess I can't ever see it again.
What are you talking about?
If I think it's a good movie, I cannot go back and watch it again.
Bring myself to enjoy it a second time.
Everybody who buys a DVD or a VHS of their favorite movie is wrong. It can't be done.
Oh man, that was so. The end of that thought was so far away from where I thought it was going to be when it started. I thought he was going to do one of those like. A movie is something when you watch it multiple times, you get something out of it every time. There are a lot of arguments that begin with, by definition, a great movie is X. And I challenge anyone to, like, I don't find any of them convincing. A great movie is whatever you personally think is a great movie. If it changes how you think about something, it's a great movie.
Also,
if it makes you feel better about yourself or makes you want to be a better person, that's a great movie. A great movie does not need to have you walking out of the movie theater eyes wide like I don't know what to do with myself now. Like, what the who are you on? Okay.
Also,
sorry.
by definition,
but to your point though, it's funny because Titanic is both of those things.
Yeah.
Like, Titanic is one of those movies where, you know, people clearly enjoyed, and they clearly rushed back to see it again. But at the same time, many of us left the theater thinking, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, like, not able to process it at all. And that's part of the reason we came back, is because I need to find a way to make peace with what I just watched, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that sounds an awful lot like you have a different opinion about what a good film can be, but that's very contradictory to what I'm reading here. What I'm reading here is that
he did say by definition.
By definition,
that means we have to follow that.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm reading something else over
I'm
here.
sorry, but this is written down, so I'm sorry. I got to go by this. Also, that means that no great movie can like do well at the box office. If you're saying that, like, you go see it and you walk back going, these hands, and you go back to your house and you get curl up in a ball and think about it, and you don't, like, nobody goes to see a movie again. Like, nothing that does well at the box office can work. I cut a little part here, but he's talking about how, like, where people were culturally. Young people in particular are restless, they're uncertain, a quiver, yet there is a widely felt yearning for commitment, for purpose. Under these conditions, the very fact of the initial popularity, aided by media manipulation, helps a film like Titanic to be immensely popular. It's attractive to me, quote, it's attractive to me precisely because it's attractive to others. I have to see something extraordinary and tragic in the film because others have seen it, end quote. This is not so much conformism, although it enters into it, as the desire for affiliation or for some unifying element, when the new social affiliation and the new basis for unifying humanity have not appeared to the vast majority.
What the fuck are you talking about?
We're getting. Can you imagine like reading this in the newspaper, going, "I don't know if we should go see Titanic. I can't really make heads or tails of this." Apparently, it's what the young people are. It's the paradigm young people are following. And this is in early 1998.
So confused.
The movie came out, and this is a couple months after the movie came out, and this guy is already like, "Would you like to know what's happened to society with Titanic?"
Yeah.
I don't know if I read that if I read that review and I hadn't seen the movie, that would probably make me actually buy a ticket just to find out what the fuck he was talking about.
What he's talking about. And also, the one thing I'm taking away from this is that it's a global phenomenon that everyone wants to be a part of. I would immediately go, I don't want to miss out on something like that.
He's trying to say that the movies, like, on one hand, he's saying that, like, the movie is not very good. On the other hand, everyone is talking about it. Everyone has an opinion of it, and it is changing the zeitgeist. But, don't bother. Like, what are you talking about?
Stop reviewing weird.
Yeah.
You're doing it weird. Stop doing it so weird.
If I were the editor for this guy, I would just be like, would you like to take another stab at this and maybe talk about the plot?
Maybe take a couple of days, reread what you wrote.
Yeah.
Actually, better yet, just don't do that.
Yeah,
Start
yeah.
over.
On that note,
Go out, like, go spend a day with your kids. Like, just reset. Hard reset. And then come back and treat it like you were reviewing a movie.
Because essentially that is what we're paying you to do. In voicing their support for the film, young people are responding to what they perceive to be the Titanic's theme. So let's knock young people down a peg. You don't know what you actually saw. You don't know what you like. The need to break.
Chestnut.
Don't get me started on the Matrix. The need to break from conventions and experience at no matter what cost freedom and love. This is no doubt in part a response to the prevailing climate of conformism and cynicism. But this genuine, if confused sentiment is being directed toward a work that is fundamentally false and shallow.
This guy has an issue with the prevailing climate of cynicism in 1997. I weep for this person in the year of our Lord 2024.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's a great point. You have no idea how cynical it's gonna. Like, this is. Can we just enjoy?
It gets dark fast.
It gets dark. Can we just enjoy like a good melodramatic action movie, please? Or is this all about this weird ideology that you think young people? This is the precursor to the Avatar syndrome, like having a Pandora withdrawal or whatever the fuck it was, where it's like, this is the precursor to that
thing. Like, people actually needed like therapy. Is that right? Like, people had like withdrawal from.
I'm sorry, James Cameron weaves such a great story that people really connect to it. That's your issue. There's no trace of genuine revolt in Cameron's film. It is a thoroughly self-satisfied piece of work. There is not, after all, anything necessary, anything that flows from the conflict between Winslet's character and her family and fiancé in the ultimate tragedy. Jack and Rose. He
literally shot at her.
Yeah. Well, when you put it that way. That's a great point.
He took a gun. He took his like officer, security person's gun and ran after her, shooting.
Maybe in that
Like,
scene, this reviewer went outside to write an article about conformism and cynicism and kind of missed that part. Jack and Rose find happiness together relatively easily. They simply happen to be on board a sinking ship. Presumably, had the Titanic not struck an iceberg, they would have lived happily ever after. Sure,
Yes.
if
That's
different scenes
kind-
in Romeo and Juliet had happened, it would have ended differently.
Yeah, if the
right.
movie didn't end the way it did, it would have ended in a way that it didn't.
Yes.
Very interesting how that works.
Yeah, well put. Well
Yeah.
put. But how conformist would that have been? Oh, by the way, a man making his own luck is the ultimate form of nonconformity, okay? I submit that Billy Zane is a champion of this guy's ideology. And he should do some self-examination as a result.
It may one of the difficulties in the situation is that the same low cultural level that has produced the film has, to a large extent, produced the public reaction to it. It might be best perhaps to describe Titanic as a sort of lowest common denominator. The film contains certain minimums necessary to draw an audience: attractive leading actors, a tragic love story, expensive special effects, a mild dose of social criticism, a fascinating historical event, media support. But it's very blandness.
He's just listing elements of a successful movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
All
thinking.
of those things are pluses to me.
Yeah. Being a
aren't
phenomenon.
those things the reason you come to a movie?
Yeah,
Like that's
that's a good point.
literally why you go watch movies.
I tell you what, if you strip away the acting, the directing, the fact that it's a phenomenon, the fact
Yeah.
that it's based
it's
on
got
a
a
historical
crazy
thing,
awesome
You're gonna have a
script. It's
successful
very
movie.
moving.
you strip all those things. What do you have left? Nothing. You got nothing left. You got
Once you
nothing.
strip it of its, yeah. Oh god.
If you take everything good about the movie away, then there's nothing left.
Oh, but here we go. But its very blandness in combination with these elements accounts for its great success. Yes. All of those things.
All of those elements
do
exist
account for its great success.
I think the fact that if you take away all of those elements and what you're left with is basically nothing means that every element of it is good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You did it. You
God.
checked all the boxes.
You made all
Great.
of it good.
Titanic is, in effect, a blank screen onto which a great many people are projecting vague but very powerful longings about life, love, society, which they cannot yet formulate in a more concrete and focused term. Did this
That's-
person just
that's
overhear like two people walking out of the movie talking about it? Like, this is 1997. The internet was not like this massive thing that everybody had where like you could really catch the pulse of the young people. Like, what is he basing all of this on? The fact that a lot of people went to see it?
I don't know. It could be like what happens now, where just the same group of people come together and just make this crazy hypothetical opinion that is now real. And now that's how they base all of their beliefs. It's because people that relate to them think that. So all the old people thought that it was the young people that were going to watch it, and so
Yeah.
therefore, clearly, it's young people going to watch it.
But
So,
I do love that line though. I love that line that you just read because it basically what it says is like, is there anything worse in a movie than walking away from it relating to the characters that were in that movie?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't, like, the mark of a true bland movie is the fact that we as an audience can relate to its characters.
Yeah.
how
Listen.
dare?
Listen to
how
this
dare
sentence
they.
again. Listen to this sentence again, but apply it in a positive sense without the cynicism. Titanic is, in effect, a blank screen onto which a great many people are projecting vague but very powerful longings about life, love, society, which they cannot yet formulate in a more concrete and focused term. That's kind of what a good movie is. Just like, if you read
Right.
that as like, here's how great this movie is. It allows people to apply these feelings about life, love, and society in ways that they couldn't articulate. That's a good
Right.
thing.
And that's kind of what writers are supposed to do. A good writer is supposed to trust the viewer enough so they can make vague concepts and make it powerful. And so and the viewer can take it from there.
Yeah.
Like that. yeah, you should trust your viewers. You don't have to spell everything out to them.
Here's the last sentence, the last paragraph here. There's nothing mystifying about such a relatively vacuous film winning tremendous popularity. On the contrary, no other film would fill this particular bill. It is Titanic's emptiness that allows the audience to invent a film and a world for itself in the course of those 3¼ hours or as many viewings as it takes. Once again, this is that against the grain shit that where it's like, I'm going to tell you what, this is empty, and everybody, the fact that this is this huge worldwide phenomenon, no, they're all wrong. And my interpretation that it's empty and you're all seeing something that isn't there, that is what will stand the test of time. Mark my words.
I'm while listening to this review, I'm beginning to wonder, like, this guy knows that other people can watch the movie too, right? Like, this,
Yeah.
like, he knows that other people can go out and be like, oh wow, this is very different than what you said.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they're allowed to make their own opinions of this movie.
Oh, so many of these reviews only make sense and make a lot more sense when you apply, like, I saw it and now we're locking it away so you don't have to. Trust me. Trust me, this was a waste of your time.
Yeah.
You know, that's hilarious.
You're a very busy person. You probably shouldn't watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't watch Titanic. You shouldn't watch one of the most popular movies ever to exist at this point in time. You're wasting your time, you conformist.
I mean, I love because that whole review was don't be a part of the biggest conversation in the world. That's what that review is saying.
Exactly what that was. Yeah.
right.
Here's this last one that I want to read is a very quick one. This is from 2012 when they re-released it for 3D. I love it when we get to see, like, we did one for Star Wars and Mick found that the article, the reviewer was brought back in, what, 30 years later? 40 years later?
It's like it was. So when did the original Star Wars release? 77.
Yeah.
They brought it back in like 2017.
Yeah.
So
to come
40
back
years later,
and annotate his earlier review so that you got to kind of see, like, no, I still stand by it. Piece of shit. Is like, that's amazing to
Right.
me. So
he
this
doubled down. It was fabulous.
So this is I'm going to mention here that this was written by a woman just because there's some stuff in here that if you assume it's a guy comes off really bad. So I just want to say that this was written by a woman so that doesn't happen. But this is Titanic, the Irish Times, Friday, October 6, 2012. The original CGI, all $200 million worth, would barely cut it as an annoying animated screensaver by today's standards. The ship itself looks about as sophisticated as biro jotting. Must be an Irish thing.
Biro's a pen.
Oh, okay, cool. The crowds wave algorithmically. The sea is pixel blue. The now tatty lines around the titular vessel make for a disastrous disaster flick. Victims fall from the ill-fated vessel as binary-coded constructions. Oh, look, that special effect just died. Pass on our condolences to the hardware that spawned it.
Wow.
Okay.
Very vitriolic.
For a fairly cruel line, you got to applaud the joke construction was
Yeah. For all the poorly written, jokes in these reviews, it was well done.
No, it's on technique, like.
But it's also, but like every now and then this comes up where it's like a review will seem like really personal. Did James Cameron like rummage through your trash or something? Like what is the genuine animosity? This is 2 paragraphs on the fact that the CG doesn't hold up, which it does.
Right.
So
yeah, one, it holds up great. Unless you're watching it in 4K on like a huge TV, like for 1997, it looks fantastic. But second, if it didn't, obviously, it probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's 1997.
I think what it does really well, and always has, is the CG extra fluff is blurry in the background. We're focused on the characters in the foreground, like in the engine room. There's like
Oh,
stuff
right.
that I think is clearly like green screen, but because everything is moving so fast and we're focusing on the actors, it's all blurry in the background. Like it moves in and out quick. We're like, there's never like, hi, I'm a CG Polar Express character. Like there's nothing like that. It's all just stuff
Right.
happening that your eye is supposed to catch for just a second. And I think Cameron does that better than anybody. Then Avatar comes along and he's like, I want you to stare directly at this CG stuff. We've got it now. We figured it out.
That was the most like challenge accepted. I'm gonna make
Yeah.
all of it flawless and above reproach. Yeah. This is, I just off the bat, I feel like it's a very bad faith argument to be knocking a re-release of a 1997 movie on its CG when there's no question that it was state of the art when it came out.
Yeah. Here we go again. Yank out the spectacle, and there's not much to recommend to Titanic.
Sure. I agree with that. When you take the movie away, there's not a lot of movie left.
Yeah.
The film standing in the all-time box office chart was always a quirk of zeitgeist, a strange perfect storm of Leo lovers and elderly hat admirers. Let's just let that sit there.
Like,
No.
No. Yeah. Well said. Well said. No. The screenplay retains the appallingly utilitarian ring that these folks were once prepared to overlook. Characters introduce themselves in flat-pack sound bites. When you got nothing, you got nothing to lose, announces DiCaprio's Jack. I don't see what all the fuss is about. It doesn't look any bigger than the Mauritania, sniffs Winslet's perennially dissatisfied Rose. No, she's not perennially dissatisfied. She is in that moment because that's the beginning when we're portraying the arc that's about to start. And
it's almost like that's a setup for her character.
right.
Crazy. Also, the entire point of developing characters is starting them off different than their developed character later on.
Yep.
Like if you have a character and your goal is for them to develop, they have to start off less developed.
Yep.
Like they have to start off as less likable or less educated or whatever. That's literally how you develop a character.
It's an apt if trite opening gambit. Rose, even played by Model T Winslet, the version we used to like.
What?
Yep.
What does that mean?
Yep. That's the point that I wanted to make there, where it's like, it's not much better because it's a woman, but it's also like, did Kate Winslet get canceled in 2012 and I missed it? Let me read that again. It's an apt if trite opening gambit. Rose, even played by Model T Winslet, the version we used to like, is one of the movie verse's most problematic heroines. A spoiled, sneaky brat who somehow contrives to bag the bit of rough, which I think is an Irish term for have sex, and the rich fiance's diamond. She swans off without ever having to witness either gent scratching himself with keys on her couch.
Yeah, the bit of rough. I think she means like the poor boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is happening?
The one we used to, what does that mean? Why do we not like her anymore? In the mind of this woman, why do we not like her anymore?
And didn't we like her in part because of this movie?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, this
she crushed it.
Yeah.
right. Like that. Isn't this one of the movies that like put her in the spotlight? Like she was already obviously an actress, and she was very popular. But wasn't this one of the movies that like made her extremely popular, like world renowned?
But listen to the rest of this. Listen to the rest of this. One of the movie verse's most problematic heroines, a spoiled, sneaky brat who somehow contrives to bag a bit of rough and the rich fiance's diamond. She swans off without ever having to witness either gent scratching himself with keys on her couch. What?
Okay.
Is it like she wanted
This review presupposes that the entire falling in love with Jack and leaving Billy Zane, whatever his character's name, he was always just Billy Zane in my head. Leaving him was a play on like a double cross.
Yeah.
Like she's this reviewer
She
is
got
watching
what
this
she
like it's
wanted.
a heist movie.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
also
And
kind of
even though-
weirdly presupposes that the ship's going to sink so she can get away with the diamond.
Right.
Right.
She knew what she was doing.
And never mind the fact that there was countless dialogue by this character, even like dialogue that was clearly meant to just be exposition of her internal monologue about how she did not want that diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she wanted nothing to do with it.
Well, Nick, I mean, you're applying logic based on lines from the movie. I'm reading this review here, which I don't know. I mean, which way should we go?
Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
I know.
And you can also tell how badly she wanted it because at the end of the movie, she fucking threw it away.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So great plan. It was like, I'm gonna double cross both of these bozos, watch them sink with the ship, and then 80 years later, drop it into the ocean as a victory lap and dunk on them one more time.
This
Like,
isn't
Right.
forget Celine Dion's Infernal Heart. This movie just goes on and on. Ha 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 ha.
she
Oh,
scored.
she told a joke.
Yeah, I mean that's just like you're writing that in 2012. Nobody is on board with you. If there's
It's
ever
come back
a movie,
around. There was a backlash, and now people are just like, if you think about this movie at all, it's because you enjoy it and you like it and you want to go see it again. Like,
I would say
who is
even
this
more.
review for?
Even-
Nobody.
Right.
There's no like minds left to be made up about Titanic in 2012.
Yep.
And so there's one thing that I want to add because I've seen this come up in a lot of reviews so far. It's that a lot of these reviews are poking fun at one little like throwaway line, and it's like a line of dialogue that the characters are casually saying from one person to another, and like that's how people talk to each other. And this movie was made to be realistic. It's not like these characters, like it's not like Rose was at the top of the ship while it was sinking thinking, what should I say in this very moment?
Yeah.
Like it's stopping time. Like people are like, they're humans. Like people say dumb shit sometimes, and I'm willing to forgive that in lines of dialogue in a movie that's supposed to be realistic.
I mean, my takeaway from the whole thing is just watch the movie. It's good. I promise you, it's good. You watch one scene of it, you're going to be hooked, and you're going to want to keep watching. All of this bullshit of like, can we get some better dialogue? And oh my goodness, what a phenomenon this is. Let's talk about why this hasn't earned the phenomenon. All of that goes out the window when you start watching the movie. I promise you.
Right.
Bill Paxton with an earring. Come on, what more do you want? All right, we are at the end. We are ready for my favorite part. 2 reviews and a lie. I am about to read 3 one-star user reviews for Titanic. 2 are real, 1 I made up. Your job is to guess which one I made up. And we have Mick, I would like to show you the thing, the little thing we've added to this competition is if Mick correctly guesses which one I wrote, I have to post it on Rotten Tomatoes under my name as my actual 1-star review for the movie. And I'd like to show the crowd for this is the review that we did for Royal Tenenbaums, which I will read it to you. This has my name on it, 1 star. Not sure I can really write a review since I officially didn't make it through the whole thing. Maybe it gets better, but I doubt it. I started watching it because the box and thought that the cast was spectacular. Ha! Turns out a movie needs more than star power. It needs the characters to actually show emotion and make the plot happen. It's smart and stylish, but forgets the humor in the process. Though I lied when I said I wouldn't watch it again, I probably will when I need to fall asleep. Dave Columbo, 1 star.
I'm so happy.
So that's the that's the added drama that if you properly guess, that's what I'll do. So here are the 3 reviews. These are oh God, 3 reviews. Which one did I write? Number 1, I almost always refrain from posting negative reviews. However, this is the one movie that I find so disgustingly revolting that I cannot resist adding my unwelcomed 2 cents. James Cameron has reduced a truly horrific event to a ludicrously trite love story that makes Days of Our Lives seem like a Shakespearean tragedy. The movie Titanic has about as much to do with the actual disaster as the Police Academy movies do with law enforcement.
Okay.
Yeah. Review number 2.
Yeah.
I believe that Titanic is the most... Oh, okay. By the way, any apostrophe in this review that you think where it should go, it's not. It's not there.
It didn't go there.
Just so you know. I believe that Titanic is the most over-rated movie of all time. Its plot is original, boy meets girl, falls in love, than heartbreak, THAN. Its script is original, and its acting is mediocre. The only reason it's number 1 in money is the Titanic's fame, the teeny bopper girls that watch it over 30 times in the theater, THEATRE, during its release. If everyone only watched it once, it probably would be 15th or 20th place. At least there can't be a sequel.
I love
so
15th or 20th as if that would be like.
Also, there will never be
not a good show.
There will never be a sequel. Don't forget.
There won't be a sequel of the
SEQUAL.
Titanic.
Yeah.
So I love the tremendous risk that you could have taken, including this in the reviews that you found online, or the tremendous risk that you've taken writing this review as the one. Like, because I know you and your level of eloquence.
It's a lot of fun to be like, what is the worst way to say this?
Right.
This is review number 3. The Titanic. This Titanic is one Titanic cliche. Superficial love story, social and ethnic stereotypes, and dialogue that made me get seasick. The characters were annoying and bland, but I was excited knowing they'd probably die from the fall or in the water from the cold. I just wish it happened sooner. Oh, and Jack looked like he was 12 years old. Movies like this lower the bar for movies everywhere. Please avoid it at all costs.
Huh.
I really hope this one's not you, because that thing about them dying faster is so mean-spirited. That's
right.
It's so dark. So I was
ahead.
just gonna say, I'm not sure to what level Dave would stoop to avoid posting something on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, I don't know if I could do all of that punctuation errors in the first one, in the second one there.
But either, though, there is something about them falling to their deaths in that review, which means that person saw the movie, that person was either lying about hoping that before they saw the movie, or Dave wrote it knowing that they fell to their deaths.
Yeah.
Because, that's
Nick's
not...
doing some sleuthing here.
Because that was not a thing that people thought about before this movie came out, or at least the average person.
Unless they saw it later. Unless they
That's
saw
true.
clips of it and stuff.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe they saw it later.
I love in the third one, superficial love story, social and ethnic stereotypes. I just like that. I just love that. I'm like, all right.
I think what he's saying is there were some Irish people in this movie, and they acted like Irish people did at that time. Oh God, this is a tricky one.
This is tough because there's
Nick. I'm gonna give you the honor of the first choice.
Man, I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm gonna choose the first one because
Good
these other
choice.
two are just. That's
we've been talking.
I can't see you writing them.
We've been talking a lot about the second and the third one, but I do love the first one saying, I can't resist adding my unwelcomed 2 cents. Already implying that we don't
People
want to
have
read
actively
this.
told me not to leave this review, but I'm doing it anyway.
And a nice
That
Police
is the
Academy
voice
reference.
of somebody who's read other internet comments.
Yeah. Look, I know, 1-star review, you're going to be mad.
Or even better, read feedback he's received on previous reviews and been like, no one wants to hear what I gotta say.
Look, I'm lurking in my own comments
stop me
here.
either. Number one is a good choice. Number one is probably, I think, Smart Money's on one. I'm gonna. At this point, it's a no lose situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, no,
I'm spoiled for choice here. I'm gonna say number three.
That final answer?
Yeah, it's my final answer.
I wrote the third one.
Oh,
Shit. Dave
man, I
Columbo.
should have gone with the third because of the falling line. I was like, you gotta go with the third
So
one.
apparently, actor and social media person Dave Columbo hoped that those characters would die or fall in the water. And also, Jack looked like he was 12 years old. Damn it. Why does this guy only have 2 reviews? Royal Tenenbaums and Titanic. He's very upset at these 2 movies.
They're so confusing. It's the same note I gave to that other guy. You're reviewing weird. Stop reviewing weird.
Reviewing weird. Oh no.
I don't know what
I
you think you're doing, but it's wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I do have mine up for the record. Fair is fair. My review of Back to the Future is up, which is 1 star. Embarrassingly terrible. I was very disappointed with this movie. Maybe it was good back in the 80s. God, I hated Marty's dad. A worthwhile watch if you don't vomit at the incest. That's the sum total assessment of Back to the Future, according to Mick Andrews.
Well,
By the way, in that Back to the Future episode, I was so happy that you guys got around to the fact that there was that Marty was trying to avoid that. Like that was part of the plot.
Yeah.
Like
it wasn't down
you
with
guys
it.
talked about that, and I was like, "Thank you! Oh my god!"
So what do you? I'm so sorry to break your hearts about Titanic. Are you okay? Do you need some help?
My opinion of the movie has completely changed.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a trash movie now. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well,
I'm
Nick,
living in I'm living in 2002 all over again.
Yeah, Nick, I think your problem is that there really wasn't anything to the movie, and you just applied an entire philosophy around an empty shell because you're weak, because you're a weak person and you have no personality.
Right, you're a conformist
Yeah.
who has been taken in by the gross cynicism of 1997.
Yes.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Resistance is futile. Oh, man.
I watched Space Jam and thought, man, that was too much optimism.
Way too much. Way too much.
It's unrealistic because of how optimistic it is.
Right.
Yeah, any final thoughts on these interpretations of the movie?
It's a great movie. I don't know if you haven't seen it, you absolutely need to. I feel like everybody in the world has seen it, but everybody should watch this movie.
If you haven't watched it because of the backlash, fuck it. Go watch it.
Yeah, it's worth everybody's time.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're one of the people that are a part of the backlash, I challenge you to maybe rethink not just your opinions, but the reason why you have them. Because maybe you have some weird bias.
Okay, well, that has been off the mark. Nick, where can we find you? You have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. That Nick Powers guy on TikTok and Instagram. And you can check out my novel, As the Pizza Burns. You can buy it anywhere that you buy books online.
Awesome. And let me just vouch, incredible content, absolutely worth your time. Anytime one of your videos comes up, I'm just glued and I just over the moon for you. You're really, really good at what you do.
100%. If anyone is ever listening to people argue on the internet about basically anything, and is I wish somebody would actually look at the numbers on this. Nick is the channel you've been looking for.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
absolutely check it out.
I do my best.
You can find me on DaveColumbo.com, DVD Columbo on Instagram. By the way, if you're ever curious as to why I'm DVD Columbo on Instagram and Dave Columbo on TikTok, it's because somebody else got the name Dave Columbo before me and has since reached out because he is getting inundated with people thinking I'm him and has offered to sell me the domain of Dave Columbo on Instagram for a couple of $100. So let's keep that up. Let's get him to abandon, because he doesn't post shit. So let's
At least
get
he's
him,
paying the price.
Yeah.
Taking the
inundate him with like, you know, I hate your take on the DCEU. What I assume is TikTok's Dave Columbo.
If you agree with
I'll
me,
DM him
I'm DVD Columbo. If you disagree, I'm Dave Columbo.
I'll send him screenshots of your reviews.
Yeah,
your movie
yeah.
reviews.
Oh,
like, I've not seen any
This
takes
you?
as bad
Yeah.
as
That's it. You can. This is what I think of Royal Tenenbaums. You can find me at Dave Columbo on Instagram. That works until he abandons it, and then I get it, and it's like, oh no, that's awful. But yeah, until next time, this has been Off the Mark.